just about at 100. So let's get this thing going. Again, my name's Tom Loy, the Notre Dame recruiting insider with IrishIllustrated.com on the 24/7 Sports Network. I work with my great esteemed colleagues over there, Tim Priester, Tim O'Malley, Jack Freeman, and Kevin Sinclair. Be sure to stop by IrishIllustrated.com, check in, and we'll get this thing rolling. As always, I'm here for you guys. Let's talk some Notre Dame football. Let's talk recruiting. The early signing day is on Wednesday. Notre Dame has an outstanding class coming in, just full of playmakers. Like I said, let's get your questions answered. And we're rolling. How close is Kevin Austin to getting back on the field? AC, good question. I know everybody's wanted to know about Kevin Austin for a long time. He will be back next year. He's not going to play in the bowl game. This is a big-time talent. He is a phenomenal playmaker. He was surely missed this fall. But he's back. He's doing all the right things. Everybody's excited to get him back. And look for him to really burst on the scene next fall. I don't want to miss any questions. Heather, will Coach Long's departure affect this year's current commitments? No, I really don't think so. We got one big time commitment left to check in on, which is actually an in-home visit with Michael Mayer in Kentucky, head coach Brian Kelly, and running backs coach Lance Taylor. I'm not sure if anybody else is going to be there, but that's who's in home tonight. They may actually be there right now. He's an All-American Bowl prospect. He's going to play in that game in San Antonio. He, in my opinion, is the number one tight end in the entire country. He's been committed to Notre Dame since 2018. Other than that, I've talked to I've confirmed that five-star running back Chris Tyree is fully committed. He's going to sign on Wednesday, and the rest of the class, same deal. Everybody's good to go, especially on the offensive side of the ball with the departure of Coach Long. They're going to be signing early. So good news for Notre Dame. You can wipe the sweat from your brow. As long as everything goes well with Mayer tonight, it looks like everybody's going to sign on Wednesday. Who's going to be our next OC? James. Good question. It's unknown. We've talked about it at IrishIllustrated.com. I was teaming up with Tim O'Malley and Tim Priester about this. Early thoughts. It's hard not to go in-house. My thought would be Tommy Rees could get the nod. Lance Taylor is surely involved. And if Coach Kelly decides to go outside of the current staff, then we're going to have to see who some of the candidates that emerge. But smart money right now, today, hard to argue with Tommy Rees as a potential offensive coordinator, playmaker. And if that's the case, you bring in a quality tight ends coach, a veteran. I've kicked around the name of Mike Denbrock, former Notre Dame coach. He's coached all over the field, and he would be a tremendous mentor. He was the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. He'd be a great mentor for Rees or Taylor, whoever decides, Kelly decides to give that job to. Any chance Tony Alford gets a chance of being the new OC? Tom, I don't think so. Tony is a phenomenal recruiter, and he's a really good coach. He is so good at developing relationships with kids. I've known him a long time just because I've obviously covered Notre Dame for 6 or so years now, and he's a great man, a great recruiter, a great coach, but I just don't think he would come back to Notre Dame, at least with the current situation. Who are they going with as OC since Chip Long is gone? Is Chip Long going to be the OC in the bowl game? No, Chip Long is done at Notre Dame. He's not going to be coaching in the bowl game either. And as mentioned before, Tommy Rees is a possibility as the new OC. Lance Taylor could get a look, and surely they'll talk to other guys outside the current staff, but we just don't have those names because the news broke just yesterday. Matt kind of answered the question, so we'll kind of move ahead about the OC. Is Ian Book staying for another year, declaring for the draft? Ryan, another good question. I fully expect Ian Book to return next year. I don't think that he's ready necessarily. Ian's a terrific talent, and he's a very good quarterback. He, especially at the college level, I think a lot of people are really sleeping on how good this guy is and his abilities. He had a great touchdown to interception ratio. He had a great season. I mean, he struggled little bit against Georgia, and he didn't play well against Michigan. We all know that. But as the year went on, and I know it was against lesser opponents, but Ian really got rolling. I'm very excited to see what he does this offseason heading into next fall. Ideally, get some of the playmakers back. Tight end Cole Kmet, that would be huge. Offensive line's another year older, and get the running game going. See who decide to go with it at OC, but I have a feeling that Ian's going to have a very good year next year, but I expect him back. Will Brian take over the play calling against Iowa State? TBD, Tim. We don't know. It's to be determined. It could be Kelly, could be Tommy Reese, could be a nice audition for that job, but they really want to win that game. You want to get to 11 wins, get to 11-2, and keep that momentum rolling heading into next year. So whatever BK thinks is the best move, that's what he'll go with. Matt, will we get Shipley? For anybody who doesn't follow recruiting all that closely, Will Shipley is a 5-star running back from the class of 2021, meaning he is a junior right now. Running backs coach Lance Taylor is all over this guy. He is priority number one, not necessarily just for the running back room, but for the entire offensive side of the ball. He's an elite talent. Lance Taylor actually coached Christian McCaffrey at Stanford. This guy reminds me a lot of Christian McCaffrey in terms of how he runs, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's physically pretty well put together. Not the same as McCaffrey at this point, but there's nothing Shipley doesn't do at a high level. He's an elite talent, and I like Notre Dame's chances right now. So my 24/7 Sports crystal ball is on Notre Dame for Shipley. Let me see here. Can we replace Quinn? I'm talking about offensive line coach Jeff Quinn. Matt, I think people are really... First of all, I expect Jeff Quinn to return next year. The players really like him. They respect him. They have a good relationship with him. And I know people are down on the offensive line. This is a group that has dealt with some injuries. I think they're going to be fine next year. I think all the people calling for Jeff Quinn's job are not going to be very vocal next year. I expect a much better, much improved group. Like I said, they're a year older. I think that people need to kind of calm down a little bit on the Quinn hate. He really gets after it on the recruiting trail. I expect him to land a very good class in 2021. This cycle, he landed an elite offensive tackle in Tosh Baker, who I think has more upside, more potential than any offensive lineman in this entire class. And Michael Carmody, who's still transitioning into an offensive lineman. He was just a tight end like a year or so ago. He's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, and both of those guys are playing in the All-American Bowl in San Antonio in January. So again, it's hard to top when a guy brings in 2 All-Americans. But yeah, I don't think too many people are going to be perceived Quinn haters this time next year. But I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. Any big time pass rushers coming to the Irish? Yeah, it's Mike Elston. This guy is a tremendous, gifted recruiter, along as a defensive line coach. The guy I'm probably most excited about is Jordan Botello, kid out of Hawaii. He's a special kid. Relentless, getting to the quarterback. He can drop and play linebacker as well. I think he's actually listed as a linebacker, but he's going to be rushing the passer all day long for Notre Dame. So he's the guy, a kid from Hawaii. Like I said, he's a guy to watch and know in the future. Let me see what else we got here. Any last minute recruits tracking that haven't been talked about? Yeah, the guy to know is Ramon Henderson, a kid out of California. He's a wide receiver, defensive back, a kid that is a really good athlete that is being targeted on the defensive side of the ball. I fully expect him to end up at Notre Dame. I expect Notre Dame to land him on Wednesday during the early signing period. I think he's going to sign on the first day of the early signing period. And I expect good news for the Irish. You got schools like Washington, Oklahoma, UCLA pushing for him, Utah. I believe Brian Poley and Terry Joseph. I think they got their man. He's not a top. Jerry, I think you mean QB in college. If you're talking about Ian Book, how long is the list of guys that you would take over him at Notre Dame that fit everything about Notre Dame? Ian Book is just as good of a person, a student, as he is an athlete. I don't really get where the hate comes for Ian Book. I really don't. People talking about replacing him, getting rid of him. Matt, Djokovic has a higher ceiling than Book. Yeah, you look at Phil. He's a tremendous athlete. He's all of 6'4" and a half, 200 plus pounds, maybe 230, 220 now. Um, I think I think that the change for an offensive coordinator could really help his development. I really like Phil, and I think he's really come a long way in the last year since last offseason to this coming offseason. I think we're going to see a completely different kid, and the light has clearly come on, and I'm excited about his future. A lot of people are writing him off for some reason as a bust and a highly rated guy who is not panning out, but I think Phil has all the tools. He's putting it together. It took a little longer than probably anybody expected, but he throws a phenomenal ball in warm-ups, just spins the ball so much better. I mean, this kid was struggling with that when he arrived at Notre Dame, and it is so much better, night and day, really. So, and I love the fact that he can run the ball at such a high level. I mean, I was calling for him to get in the mix against Michigan early in the game because I thought he could be a difference maker, a spark that Notre Dame needed. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but Phil's an exciting kid to watch. AC, sorry, I jumped the gun on that one. I didn't see your question. What's your feel on Ramon Henderson? I like Notre Dame. Give the OC to anyone who can bring in top offensive players. Chip Long did that, Jerry. Chip Long absolutely did that. Recruiting was not a problem for him. He is a terrific recruiter. Brought in two of the best tight ends in the country, including the best, in my opinion, in Michael Mayer. Played a huge role in getting Chris Tyree committed. Landed a bunch of guys last cycle. Yeah, recruiting was not a problem for Chip Long. How about the OC from Purdue? Again, a guy that hasn't been mentioned. They've mentioned guys from like Indiana. Trying to think who else got mentioned. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but right now I think we're a little premature in all this. I don't see a decision coming before the bowl game. Like I said, I think BK or Tommy Reese will get a chance to call the plays in that thing. You foresee any surprise flips to Notre Dame? Not yet, Larry. We're kind of seeing how the coaching changes kind of play out. Any movement before the early signing period between December 18th and the 20th, which is next Wednesday to Friday. That's probably the one thing I'm keeping an eye on. If there's some movement there, all bets are off. Things could change. Notre Dame really wants to get another safety, another defensive back in this class, and we'll see what happens. I mean, that's going to be the one to watch. We'll see. And if you're a VIP subscriber at irishillustrated.com, you know one guy that I'm talking about, but that's for the VIP guys. Let me see what else we got here. A little slow on the questions popping up, so I'll give them another second here before we keep it rolling. And by the way, like I said earlier, my wife, she bought me a nice mug for my birthday this week. So any Office fans out there, best show ever. All right. Oh, got a couple here. I just want to let some more people come in here. And it's a little busy right now, so I wanted to check my phone. Sorry about that. Anyway, all right, let's go. What's the cornerback situation looking like next year? Yeah, I mean, Sean Crawford, getting him back would be absolutely huge. He would most likely get a sixth year, have a 6th year, and be able to come back, and that's exciting news. I think that's not something he necessarily thought about before the season, but I think that would be a great opportunity for him to really cement his legacy. What a career he's had, just the ups and the downs. He's dealt with so much. I just want to see him have a full, healthy season. Tariq Bracy's a guy that could play opposite him. Trying to think if there's anybody else. Young guys, KJ Wallace, Isaiah Rutherford, a couple freshmen from this class. They'll be in the mix. I'm assuming they'll probably keep Houston Griffith at safety, but he could play a little corner. Trying to think who else we got there. I think that would probably be, my guess would be if Crawford comes back, it's probably Crawford and Tariq Bracy small. Those guys are small, but getting somebody with some length would be huge. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Hey Tom, glad to see you. My question is, would Kelly just do the play calling if he picks Tommy? He might do the play calling. Kelly might, but Reese, if I think he might be comfortable at least to give Reese a chance to call the plays against Iowa State in the Camping World Bowl. I think that'd be a great opportunity. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Do we have a chance to flip that wide receiver that chose Washington over Notre Dame? Jalen McMillan, his recruitment, it looks to be over. Chip Long was spearheading that one. There was a lot of dialogue back and forth and a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that gave Notre Dame a lot of excitement and a lot of they felt good. They felt good about that, but doesn't look like it's going to come to fruition. He's expected to sign early with Washington on Wednesday, and what a special playmaker. Jalen McMillan is a guy we're going to be hearing about for years. He is a phenomenal talent. But yeah, he'll be going to Washington. Will Reynolds, your thoughts on the Ohio State transfer? Isaiah Pryor, big fan. I think he's going to fill a nice void that could be lost by the departures of Alohi Gilman and Jalen Elliott. I believe that your starters next year, it'll be a nice battle between Pryor and Houston Griffith at safety, but Kyle Hamilton obviously will be one starter. But Pryor is a phenomenal athlete. I don't necessarily know if everything really worked out at Ohio State. I feel like he kind of got the short end of the stick. So he's motivated. He'll be on campus in December, I believe, later this month. And that kid is motivated. And I think that Terry Joseph can get a ton out of him. So, yeah, he'll be a name to know. Next commit prediction, Pat, I think it'll be Ramon Henderson on Wednesday when he signs and announces his decision. I expect him to pick Notre Dame over UCLA, Utah, Washington, Oklahoma, a couple others. Being recruited as a defensive back, safety corner, plays wide receiver. But if you get a chance, take a look at his huddle film. Just kind of Google him or check out his 24/7 Sports profile. Kid can play. Kid can definitely play. What's the key to reversing Notre Dame's struggles in big games? You know, Michigan was bad. No denying it. Everybody in here, everybody at IrishIllustrated.com, everybody in the world that watched that game knows Notre Dame played as bad as you could. But I will say that they didn't play that bad against Georgia. So I get that they lost. Everybody was upset. It was a tough one. They didn't play that bad, though. So the struggles, I wouldn't say they struggled necessarily in big games. It's about closing. It's about getting the W. The sources, the people I spoke to at Notre Dame, connected with the program, they were disappointed because they expected to win that Georgia game. Not because they got close. They almost won. They almost beat an SEC power team that almost made the playoff. No, they expected to win. So that kind of attitude is what's right about this Notre Dame team, and that's going to help them moving forward. How does the freshman compare to Ian Book? And I know there's game experience. By freshman, I'm assuming you mean Brendan Clark, the kid that came in last year, and not Drew Pine, the kid that's signing on Wednesday. Brendan, I feel like he's a little bit more physically put together than when Ian arrived. Brendan spins the heck out of a football, throws it really well. He can move as well. He's a winner. I think a lot of people were talking it's going to be Ian, Phil, Tyler Buckner, the 2021 commit. That's going to be the next three quarterbacks. People that are writing off Brendan Clark and Drew Pine are going to be sorely mistaken when they watch these guys and as they grow within the Notre Dame program. If they get beat by better players, it is what it is. But anybody who expects that Brendan Clark and Drew Pine were brought in to just be placeholders, mistaken. These guys can play. Clark was actually a Polynesian Bowl All-American, and Pine will be Under Armour All-American this year as well. Is there a timeline for replacing Long? No, not that I've seen yet. You go into the Under Armour Army All-Star Games. The Army is not a thing anymore, like the Army All-Star Game, the Army All-American Bowl. It's just the All-American Bowl right now, just to clarify. And then, but I'll be at that game for a week, and there'll be plenty of Notre Dame commits in that game, or eventual signees in that game. And then we'll have 24/7 Sports will have a ton of coverage from the Under Armour game as well, but I will not be there. I will be at the All American Bowl in San Antonio. How many fifth years coming back? Richard, we don't know it yet. Hopefully to get more clarification around the time of the bowl game. Cam Hart, yeah, good question, James. Guy reminds me a lot of Ramon Henderson, a guy that can play both ways, defense and offense, wide receiver, defensive back. I liked him as an athlete coming out of high school, where I thought he was a better player in the secondary than I did on offense. And then as well with Ramon Henderson, I think he's going to be a better player in the secondary than defensive back than a wide receiver. So I'd like to see Hart stick it out at defensive back, but turn on his tape, and he made a ton of plays in high school wide receiver. So this is where you trust the coaches. They make a lot more money than I do about these evaluations. Do you think we hire someone to run a totally different offense? No, Brandon. I think that things are going to look very similar next year. And that's a good thing. I think it comes down to execution. I think that there's a lot of good plays, a lot of good play calls, and some guys just didn't get the job done. They didn't execute properly, and they had some struggles this year. You think McKinley will step up to replace Claypool and any other bigger body wide receiver to look forward to? I think Javon McKinley is definitely a guy to watch. As long as he comes back. At wide receiver, they're already losing Chase Claypool, Chris Fink. Trying to think who else. Michael Young to transfer. But the guys I'm watching next year, you got Braden Lenzy, a speedster who can absolutely fly. Lawrence Keys, another talented wide receiver. Two young guys. Trying to think who else we got. Why am I blanking on who else I'm missing? And then Kevin Austin. Yeah, those are probably the three projected starters in my opinion. Austin, Lenzy, and Lawrence Keys. I mean, those guys, there would be no drop off a wide receiver. Chase Claypool's phenomenal, really good, big, tall, strong, physical, can run. I wouldn't expect any any drop off in production next year. Tommy could be a great coordinator. Time will tell. I would agree with that. We've talked about the Chip Long parting ways. Derek at IrishIllustrated.com. There's been some stories. There actually is one up right now on the front page that you should probably check out. We got one yesterday. But yeah, it looks like it was I think it was time for a change, and I think both parties are okay with that. Next 2021 commit. Oof. I'm not sure, Patrick. I really am not. There's some guys that they're definitely in play with. Rocco Spindler and Landon Tangwall, they both want to probably decide in the spring, if not sooner. 5-star running back Will Shipley could decide later this month, next month, just depends on how ready he is. So I don't have a best guess, if you will, about that just yet. Nice timing. Casey, do you have a legit shot at Tangwall and Rocco? Landon Tangwall is a 5-star offensive lineman out of Maryland. Rocco Spindler is a 4-star, just shy of a 5th-star offensive lineman out of Michigan. I think Notre Dame is in the top 3 for both, has a great shot at both. Penn State is involved with Tangwall, Ohio State as well, a couple others. Rocco looking closely at Michigan. I don't know if he missed a game at Michigan this year. So Notre Dame can't finish runner-up for both. They really want to get those two and pair him with Blake Fisher, an elite offensive tackle that's currently committed from Indiana. So if you can get those three, that's what I'm talking about. Jeff Quinn can recruit. Let me see. Do I think Tommy Reese would be the OC? My gut says yes, but I don't think it's close to being a done deal. Who do I see having a Hamilton-type impact next year? Thanks for doing this, Tom. If we're talking about recruiting just in this class, part of me wants to say Jordan Botello, the defensive end out of Hawaii. I think he's a guy that could come in, play right away, and be a difference maker, a guy that could just get some burn. But then I think about like Isaiah Foskey didn't get a ton of time. because they're just loaded at defensive along the defensive line. They are losing some guys, but getting Dalen Hayes back is going to be huge next year. I guess I'll go with Chris Tyree, the 5-star running back. I mean, he's a guy that will absolutely see the field in a variety of ways. So if you're looking for a guy to, rack up some yards, rack up some touchdowns, make an impact, I'd probably lean towards Tyree. Any inside info on the transfer to Michael Young seems odd. And who knows, with Chip Long's departure, it could change things, but I think he was just looking for a fresh start. He kind of got buried on the depth chart after that injury in late in fall camp, so we'll see if something changes. Cole is coming back. What a tight end. Cole Kmet is the real deal. He's expected to come back. A final decision hasn't been made, but he's a special talent. I said a long time ago when he was coming out of high school that I thought he was the best tight end that I've personally evaluated and really watched closely and kind of in this line of work. I thought he was the best. I think Michael Mayer, the kid that's coming in this class, is better. Like, that's how high I am on him. And if it was a case where Kmet went pro, but with Tommy Tremble and Brock Wright, he would play more. But I think Michael Mayer is going to leave Notre Dame as an all-timer. Let's see. Here's a question, which wideout signee could break into the rotation? The obvious answer is Jordan Johnson, because he's one of the highest rated, one of the best. The guy I'm probably watching closest is Xavier Watts, kid at Nebraska. He was basically the player of the year in Nebraska. He's been underrated, under-recruited his entire recruitment. I think he's a kid that a lot of people are sleeping on. He is really, really good. He's probably the kid that I think, if I were to guess between Jordan Johnson and Xavier Watts, who ends up having the better career, I'm probably on an island on this one, but I'm going Xavier Watts, as long as he stays at wide receiver, because he is a really good defensive back. No clue, Gilbert. He was asking about Notre Dame and Boise ever playing each other. Unless I'm missing something on a future schedule, I'm not sure. Getting low on questions here. Might be wrapping this up soon. Any chance Quinn gets the O coordinator spot and we get a new O-line coach? I mean, I don't know why he would be the coordinator and not coach the offensive line. If that were the case, I'm assuming he would still be both. He would be offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. But who knows? It's a chance. I'm not ruling him out. It's just not what I've heard as the most likely scenario. How are we doing with Shipley after Long is left? Dan, the fact that Lance Taylor is here, still on campus, still the running backs coach, that's the key with Will Shipley. The 5-star running back out of North Carolina. Those two are extremely close. They've known each other a long time. They knew each other before he ever, or at least knew of each other before he ever came to Notre Dame. So as long as Taylor's here, Notre Dame's got a shot with Shipley. And who will be the starting quarterback next year? Rich, the answer to that would be Ian Book, the guy who started the last year in 3/4 of the games. I don't see anybody passing him on the depth chart. I think he'll get pushed more than ever from Phil Dracovic, who I think is going to have a very good offseason. But I don't think that anyone's going to plan him as the starting quarterback at Notre Dame. Any more? Anything new on Kalen Johnson? This spelling threw me off. The 2021 4-star cornerback, elite defensive back. My 24/7 Sports crystal ball is on Ohio State for the kid. He's teammates with Jordan Johnson, who's coming to Notre Dame. Notre Dame needs to really pick it up on that one. Need to get him back on campus. Right now I like the Buckeyes, but Notre Dame's going to have a hole. He would step in and play a ton if he ended up signing with Notre Dame a year from now in the 21 class. But right now I think they're probably in the top 5, probably top 3. But I like Ohio State as of today. How are we doing on defense for the class of 2021? Good. They've landed a bunch of good players. They have the number 1 recruiting class in the country on that side of the ball. Um, I like the guys that they brought in. I like Gabe Rubio. I think he's a terrific talent. I mean, he is the nicest kid you'll probably ever meet. He is just a perfect fit for Notre Dame. Just a great kid, great young man, raised really well. But on the field, he's about as nasty as it gets. I'd be shocked if he wasn't a captain for Notre Dame one day. Um, and that's it. I mean, when you look at the rest of the class, you got Tyler Buckner at quarterback. We've already talked about Blake Fisher, the offensive tackle. You got Deion Colsey at wide receiver. Lorenzo Styles Jr. at wide receiver. Although he can absolutely play, the Ohio State legacy that chose Notre Dame could absolutely play in the secondary at safety or corner. And Kane Barong at tight end. So they've got a very good class. It's offense heavy right now. But yeah, if you're looking for a potential switch for a guy that's committed to play defense, Lorenzo Styles is your guy. Do you think that Notre Dame will join a conference? No idea. No idea. There's pros and cons. Seems like most people don't want them to. Some do. But yeah, I have no idea. Will Dracovic transfer out? I don't believe so, Matt. I don't see any pros necessarily to that right now. And things could really, get a refresher, a kickstart with a new OC. But I think Phil is going to have a very good offseason. Thoughts on kickoff teams and kick return? I just want Braden Lindsey back there. I really do. That kid is so electric. I want him and Chris Tyree back there next year. I think that'd be so fun to watch. Who are you going to kick it to? I'm very curious to see what they do with punt return now that Chris Fink is gone. Open competition there. You got to have somebody that they trust to catch the ball. But man, it'd be nice to break a couple once in a while. So maybe they'll put Chris Tyree back there as a true freshman. Not Brian Kelly's normal route, but man, that kid's electric. Get the ball in his hands. Has he said he is returning? Henderson, Rich Henderson. I don't know who you're talking about. Sorry. I must have missed a comment, so I apologize. But I'm not sure who you're talking about. If you're still here, pass it. I'll hang out for just a little longer. We've already hit over 30 minutes. Thank you again to Carmen, my wife, for the mug. I'm missing some golf. I was watching Tiger, but I came up here to be with you folks. Do I think the number 15 final ranking for Notre Dame was fair or reasonable? Let me pull up the ranking, because I'll give you my exact take on that. The quick answer to that is no. You have a 3-loss Michigan team ahead of you. I get it. Before everybody floods the comments, Michigan beat Notre Dame. They also lost 2 more times. They also lost 1 more time. So I wouldn't have put Michigan ahead of Notre Dame. If you're doing just head-to-head, then the whole thing could get messed up. But anyway, Alabama's schedule, I don't see how that would technically be ahead of Notre Dame, but would Alabama beat Notre Dame right now head-to-head? Without Tua, I don't know. Notre Dame was playing really well at the end of the season. I think they're going to win convincingly over Iowa State. So I think this team is really rolling and moving in the right direction. 3-loss Auburn team, I get they lost to 3 good teams, but I don't know. Would I have had them a little closer to 10? Probably. I don't like Utah being ahead of Notre Dame. The body of work. Notre Dame just got no respect for any wins down the stretch or the way they played. It was weird to me. They just kept getting stuck in that 15 hole every time. So, let me see what else we got. Here we go. Do we have any new defensive ends coming in? I mentioned Jordan Botello is a guy that I'm really excited about. Riley Mills is a kid out of Illinois that I think will probably play defensive tackle long term. Technically listed as an end. I think a defensive tackle is going to get joined by Aiden Keanu Aina. I butchered that. Kid out of Hawaii, great kid, great talent. It was funny when he committed to Notre Dame. I spoke to a source that's closely connected with Ohio State that was not happy. They love that kid. There's a lot of schools that thought he was one of the more underrated, under recruited kids in the country. No surprise, Mike Elston got it done. And then an interesting kid is Alexander Ahrensberger. He's from Germany. Mike Elston went out there, got his commitment. Long, gifted, talented, plays bad competition in high school. But Mike Elston, according to sources I've spoken to, is fired up about this kid and thinks he's got big time potential. So those are the names to watch. But like potential difference maker right away, I really think Jordan Botelho is probably the guy to know. Ian Book, is that what you're talking about with coming back? No, nothing's been decided technically, but I think he's going to come back. Any chance we get that LeBron James' son to play LeBron James' brother in space? It's actually okay. So Matt is asking about Sair Wright, who's a 4-star corner from California from the 2021 class, who will be playing in Space Jam 2, LeBron's son, I believe. He's actually visiting Notre Dame this weekend. He's a really talented player, but he's also an actor. I think Notre Dame's definitely got a shot, and Notre Dame seems to check off all the boxes for him. He was excited about the offer, so we'll see, Matt. No, they're not looking at Emmitt Smith's son in this class. 3 lost Washington at number 8. Yeah, agreed, John. Talked about the defensive line studs coming in. Is talk of Hamilton playing wide receiver a real thing? Well, I think in the red zone, it's very real, and I think that they should. This guy can jump out the building. He's got great ball skills. He's a tremendous athlete. He can absolutely play both sides of the ball. I would use him in the red zone. No question. Would he get a look? Even if it's a decoy, but throw him the ball, he'll have a shot. Notre Dame can't win a big-time game on the road against a top 10 team. That's why nobody ever respects them. Not a lot of people can beat a top 10 team on the road. I get Notre Dame's struggled with it in the past, and they lost again against Georgia. They got blown out by Michigan. I get it. I'm not denying that. No question about it. But I just meant that a lot of people, I feel, weren't truly watching Notre Dame and success they had late in the season, last 6 or so games, 5 or so games. They were really good. It looked like a completely different team. Chances of getting Shane Simon's brother? No, he's going to Ohio State. They haven't recruited him for a long time. Any chance Tommy gets promoted, that Quinn shifts to tight ends coach and Kelly goes after a new offensive line coach? I don't think so. He's done a good enough job with the offensive linemen. I think that there's a good bond with the players and Quinn. And he's recruiting that position at a high level. Yeah, I think he sticks with the offensive line. I don't see that changing. So, do we ever let football players play basketball for Notre Dame? I don't, not to my recollection. I remember Everett Golson being a really, really good basketball player. And sure, like I know Kyle Hamilton can play ball. There's some guys on this current roster that can play basketball. Michael Mayer coming in can play basketball. Tosh Baker is a good basketball player. The offensive tackle that's coming in. So, but yeah, there's some good basketball players on the current team. All right, guys, we've been on here for a little over 40 minutes. Let's wrap this up. But again, I'll try to do this a little more often. We got signing day, early signing day on Wednesday. Bowl game coming up. Ton of coverage. Just stop by irishillustrated.com. Thank you guys so much for the questions. I really appreciate it. If you're on Twitter, follow me at TomLoy247. Like I said, slide by irishillustrated.com. Check out all of our stuff on the 24/7 Sports Network. Great spot for football, recruiting, all that kind of stuff, all the coverage. Yeah, it's a great time to sign up too. So if you want to be a VIP subscriber, get on board today. But other than that, that's a wrap. I'll see you guys soon. I appreciate the time and enjoy the rest of your week. And if I don't talk to you guys before then, enjoy your holiday.